So there's a really interesting search product called Kagi. I think it's pronounced Kagi, Kagi. I don't know what language it is. Kagi, Kagi, Kagi.com. And their spiel is that they do not productize you. So all the other search engines, Bing and Google and so forth, you're the product, right? They're advertising to you. They're looking at what you're looking at. They kind of adjust the feed to you. Kagi says, we don't do that. We don't have ads. We don't look at what you want, but you, the user, can give us the search world that you want to search in. So if you're a tech journalist, for example, you can target it to the news sources that you read all the time, but there are lots of them, and that you trust, and it will focus your searches on that. There's a couple of price ranges. You can try it for free for like 30 days. There's $10 a month, and I think there's $30 a month level. And I forget what the differences are, but the main thing is you got to pay to use it regular basis. Now, I can kind of see it in enterprise where you want to have good search results so people don't, it's kind of mess around with ridiculous results or targeted results because you're always searching for, Beanie Babies or something. And so that influences your technicals. I don't know how it would, but anywho. So since you guys are still working in various organizations of various sizes, mostly large, and I am retired, what do you guys think? Now, I should mention that in the old days, Google used to have a hardware search engine that you could install in your intranet and that you could target. So you could search your intranet and only find stuff you had. We had one of those 20-something years ago.
Did Microsoft do that too?
I don't know. I don't know.
The switch capability, well, not on the internet, intranet.
Yeah, they sort of do now. If you host your intranet largely on SharePoint or Microsoft 365, then there is an internal search mechanism. It's actually a sub off of Bing.com. That's what my company uses. And, again, I think there's some optimization that can be done on the indexing side, but that is the Microsoft, I think, equivalent to it, depending on you using Microsoft 365 within your enterprise.
Right.
But even before that, I seem to recall being able to index shared drives and things like that. So, yeah, and it seems to do pretty good at finding things. It's slow at work, but it finds what I need to find.
And how about you, Don? Anything and you work with a lot of mostly external I'm actually saying you work on an external facing basis, right? You're facing your clients.
Right. Yeah. And Frank just hit it on the head that, most of whom I work with are M365. They've migrated to SharePoint Online as a result. And it does the corporate, for lack of a better term, corporate search, enterprise search. Does a pretty good job of it. So as a matter of fact, sometimes it's a little bit annoying because if you open up, for example, Microsoft Edge and you haven't set a custom page, the first thing it does is provide you with links to things that people discussed in Teams chats and things like that. And it's like, I don't want to see that. Half the time it's like, no, I've already been depressed once, or, oh God, I had to deal with that problem one time. But it does do a good job. Yeah.
I think, Todd, there's when this topic of search, there's really big categories for it. Yeah. One of those categories is privacy, and the other category is quality.
Good point.
And people looking for alternatives to Google are probably coming at it from one or the other or both. Because there's been a lot of talk recently of how Google's quality has gone down, but privacy is top of mind. Now, as an example, at least in the privacy perspective, I've been playing with, because I've been noodling around with a lot of self-hosting and my own home lab, largely around Docker containers, is there's a for lack of a better descriptor for it, a front end application to search called Seer XNG, which is an open source application that's available via a Docker container. And essentially it is a front end. You get the page that it presents, you enter in your search term, and then it sends that to the back end search engines, Google, DuckDuckGo, etc. And it gives you the results back. So that's kind of putting something in between to attack the privacy perspective. The results, again, the quality is still driven by the back end search engines and its ability to give you the results back. But that's one tool, and that's free since it's open source.
Yeah. How do you spell that? Seer?
SEAR.
I'm sorry. Did you say that again?
SEAR.
ARSNG.
And XNG.
XNG. Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Never heard of it, so I'm looking it up now.
But I think that the quality stuff, for people who rely a lot on search, I think is a big issue as well, and probably one of the reasons why people are looking at this. Or I got through my cable provider, which is Xfinity, a year subscription to Perplexity Pro.
Wow.
I'm using that. And that's, obviously that is a search. It's an LLM AI-ish tool layer on top of search, so you can use a lot of, ChatGPT, I assume, is a way of search as well. But Perplexity, I think, is really intended to be used in that manner, as opposed to something like ChatGPT that may be more optimized towards generating content. But again, the problem that you I think originally raised is the pay per month subscription service, because I think even Perplexity, this is 1 year free through Xfinity. After that year, I'm going to have to make a decision. And again, it's going to be a lot of these LLM tools. It's like $20 a month. So it's even more, right? In fact, my understanding is there is a package that this Kagi Search has called Kagi Ultimate that I think is actually a combination at $25 a month, their search plus Perplexity. And so that's, for the two products, obviously cheaper individually, but $5 less when you're paying $25. I don't know if that's that much better or not.
Yeah, I mean, and so I can see my wife is still working, and so her company pays for Microsoft's Copilot Pro per seat license, which isn't cheap either. And I can I can see how enterprises can benefit from this as just a retiree with no side hustle to speak of. And this is kind of the only time I talk to people is Sundays for this podcast. I'm having I don't have a real reason to subscribe to it. Maybe if I had a real serious hobby that needed it, but no. But still, it's a really interesting idea. I wish them well. It's a good idea, and maybe we'll see some other folks like that pop up. Okay, next one.